On a cold morning in 1453, a 19-year-old young man stood by the shores of the Bosphorus, his eyes fixed on the mighty walls of Constantinople. The atmosphere was heavy with awe and silence, the kind that comes before history is made. That young man was Mehmed II, who would soon be known as Mehmed the Conqueror. And he carried in his heart a dream passed down by his father, his grandfather, and every sultan before him: the conquest of Constantinople. From a young age, he'd memorized the words of the Prophet Muhammad. "Verily, Constantinople shall be conquered. What a wonderful leader its leader will be, and what a wonderful army that army will be." And he always whispered to himself, "I will be that leader." But first, he must prove himself worthy. Upon his father's death, he took the title Murad II, becoming the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire at the age of 14. But it was his 19-year-old self who stood before the walls of Constantinople, ready to make that dream a reality. This conquest wasn't just a military campaign, it was a masterclass in strategy and vision. Mehmed gathered a vast army, more than 200,000 strong. But what shocked the world even more was his artillery, especially the mighty basilica cannon, or the Great Bombard. It was so large it needed 60 oxen to transport it, and when fired, the ground trembled for miles. But Constantinople wasn't an ordinary city. It was surrounded by triple stone walls, protected by a massive moat, and from the sea, guarded by huge chains stretched across the Golden Horn to block ships from entering. Many had tried to conquer it before, and all had failed. For over 1,000 years, Constantinople stood unconquered. The unthinkable plan. Realizing the sea barrier was key, Mehmed made a decision that shocked even his own men. He would transport his ships over land. Yes, he ordered his ships to be dragged over hills covered in logs soaked with oil and animal fat. It was a feat of pure ingenuity and determination. And overnight, something incredible happened. The Byzantine defenders woke up to find Ottoman ships inside the Golden Horn, behind their defensive chains. "How did they get there?" they cried. But the time for answers had passed. The siege had begun. For over 50 days, the Ottomans bombarded the city. Day and night, the cannons roared, shaking the foundations of the ancient city. As food dwindled and morale waned inside the walls, outside, the Ottomans grew more determined. On the dawn of Tuesday, May 29, 1453, Mehmed ordered the final assault. The army surged forward. Cries of "Allahu Akbar" echoed through the air as wave after wave of warriors clashed against the walls. One brave soldier, Ulubatla Hassan, scaled the tower amidst a storm of arrows and raised the Ottoman flag. Though he was martyred moments later, his act sparked fire in the hearts of his comrades. By midday, Constantinople had fallen. Entering the city, Mehmed did not enter in arrogance. He rode in calmly, his face solemn. When he reached Hagia Sophia, where many had taken refuge, he didn't order destruction. Instead, he declared amnesty and protection for all who remained. He walked up the steps of the great church, looked up at its massive dome, then knelt and prostrated in prayer, thanking God for the victory. He then declared, "From today, this is the city of Islam." There was no massacre, no revenge. He ordered the city to be rebuilt, honored its Christian and Jewish residents, and renamed it Islambol, City of Islam. Eventually, it became known as Istanbul, a legacy beyond the sword. Mehmed was not just a conqueror. He was a scholar, fluent in several languages, deeply interested in science, philosophy, and the arts. He established libraries, schools, and mosques, turning Istanbul into a beacon of civilization. His conquest didn't just end an empire, it began a new chapter of culture, power, and coexistence. He showed the world that faith, intelligence, and courage together could make the impossible possible. Thus, the prophecy of the Prophet Muhammad came true. What a wonderful leader. And indeed, Mehmed became that leader. What a wonderful army. And his men became that army. So whenever the road ahead seems impossible, remember this young man, barely out of his teens, who looked at the greatest fortress in the world and said, "Even if mountains turn to dust, even if the earth splits open, even if the sea becomes fire, I will not turn back until I conquer this city." Would you like this in audio form, or turned into a video script, podcast, or even a dramatic dialogue? I can help adapt it however you'd like.